everyone, it's Hunter and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, it is so nice to meet you. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about all 100 books I read during 2023. I set a goal for myself to read 100 books and I got 100 books just barely under the wire. In past years, I have far exceeded all of my goals, but this past year was definitely a challenge, so I thought I would share with you guys all 100 books that I read. And this, because it's 100 books, I normally do monthly book wrap-ups and then do like a rapid fire version of this, but because I did not do my monthly recaps of books for a majority of months this year, I'm gonna just tell you kind of like a little bit about each book. And when I say a little bit, I mean like I'm probably gonna tell you the genre, because I just, it's gonna take too long if I tell you too much about every book. But I'm gonna pull up my iPad and go to my Goodreads. If you guys don't follow me on Goodreads, I'll link it down below for you guys. If you want to follow me, you can see what I'm reading throughout the year. My goal for 2024 is also to read 100 books, so let's just go ahead and get into it. Before I do, if you aren't subscribed, I'd love it if you would do so down below and give this video a thumbs up. That really helps my channel a lot. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I read, never mind, I'll get to it when I get to it. Hold on, let me pull up my, I thought I had it up and then I just made it go away. Okay, so the first one is I Know Where You Live by Greg Olson. This one was a thriller. It definitely, I think, had some disturbing parts to it. Oh yes, this one definitely has some trigger warnings in it, but I really liked it. Next is Secluded Cabin Sleeps 6. I gave it 5 stars, but honestly, I didn't think it was that good, so maybe I should change my rating to 4. There we go. It's about a getaway weekend in a luxury cabin. It's by Lisa Unger. Next is The Therapist by B.A. Paris. I really enjoy every book I've read by B.A. Paris, and I think it was on Kindle Unlimited. I feel like most books I read by B.A. Paris that I've found to be like unreliable narrator, and I love unreliable narrator, like plot twist kind of thing. Then I listened to Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Highly recommend the read. There are a lot of different characters in this book and there's a full cast of characters reading. It's about tennis. I had the hardest time reading it, like reading it in the book form, but whenever I listened and followed along, just the different sound effects and things that were added into it made it really good, and it was a lot more interesting that way. And it was a pleasant surprise for me. The next book I read was Finlay Donovan is Killing It by El Cazimano, I'm not sure. I thought this book was hilarious. It's like it says it's a mystery. I wouldn't call it like a cozy mystery, but it's definitely like a thriller but funny, if that makes sense. Comedy thriller, if that's a thing. I don't know. I thought it was really good. I really liked it. Next is The Family Next Door by Sally Hepworth. This is a thriller as well. I love Sally Hepworth and I think all of her work is really good. Next is The Rom-Com Agenda by Jane Denker. I got this one from NetGalley as an advanced reader's copy, but it took me like 700 years to actually read it. So I did really like it. The cover is pretty, but there were parts of it that I felt were kind of slow. Next is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This one was a lot. I listened to it because I had a hard time like actually reading it, kind of like I did with Carrie Soto is Back, because it's a STEM book and I'm not a STEM girly. I think it's great that there is a STEM, women in STEM representation in the book world now, but I definitely have to listen to it in order for it to be interesting for me. Next is Run on Red by Noelle W. Ihli, not entirely sure how that's pronounced. This one took place within, it was like the whole book took place within like a couple of hours of each other, from start to finish. And this one was absolutely like nail-biting kind of thriller. There were parts of it, like there was a portion of it where I thought they could have like skipped over some of those details. However, the whole time I was just like, oh my gosh, like I wanted it to be over because I wanted to know what was going to happen. Next is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one I gave 5 stars. It was so fast paced. I really loved this whole book. It's a thriller. It takes place in the mountains and that's really all I want to give because it's just a lot. Next is Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. She's one of my favorite thriller authors. I have read a lot of her books and I really enjoy them, and she is the author of one of my absolute favorite thriller books, Local Woman Missing. So I really enjoyed that one. If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. The beginning of this book kind of gives away the ending, but you just like hope that it ends differently. So I think I gave it 4 stars because I thought it was a really good book and I thought it was gonna be super awesome ending, and then it ended and I was like, what the heck did I just read? I was so mad. So next is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, and this one was really good. I read It's on my bookshelf. Hold on. I gotta find it. I read The Escape Artist by Jonathan Friedland, which was about the guy who busted out of Auschwitz and told the world about Auschwitz. And after reading that book, I feel like the novel, because it's fiction, was put into a really good perspective. I just understood a lot more in the book than I would have understood if I hadn't have read the nonfiction version, not version, but the nonfiction book first. It's about this guy who is a tattooist in Auschwitz. He's the one putting the numbers on the prisoners. So next is Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. I'm a big fan of Catherine Center. Very contemporary romance kind of thing. Less romance, more contemporary. I've always really enjoyed the books that I've read by her, so 5 out of 5 for me. Next is Off the Deep End by Lucinda Berry. Lucinda Berry, one of my favorite thriller authors. More psychological thriller than anything, but really good. Loved that one. Next is Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino, and I thought this was really good, although based on the cover I thought it was going to be a thriller, but it was indeed a romance. I really liked it. I feel like a lot of I don't know how to explain it. I feel like this is like a second chance romance kind of thing where they're like lovers before and then they don't see each other for a long time and then they like reconnect. I feel like a lot of books that are written with like a timeline similar to that, they're like they're like lovers, friends to lovers kind of thing as children and then teenagers, and then they like are young adults when they reconnect, whereas in this one they were in college when they were together the first time, and so they're a little bit older when they reconnect, and I liked that because I feel like a lot of them are very similar, so this one was just a bit different. Next is Josh and Gemma the Second Time Around by Sarah Reddy. I read the first book of this, which is Josh and Gemma Make a Baby, and I really liked that one, so I liked the sequel, although I don't think the sequel was as good as the first one. Next is Queen Bee by Amelie Howard. It's funny because the main character, or one of the main characters in this book's name is Poppy, and that's my baby's name, but I read this one as an advanced reader's copy as well, and I really liked it. It's like a Regency era novel. Another one by Lucinda Berry is Under Her Care. I don't remember much about it, but I feel like if I read the synopsis I would. Next is Love in the Time of Serial Killers. This girl, by Alicia Thompson. I actually remember reading this whenever I was going to a doctor's appointment. Like I was reading it in the waiting room of my OB's office because I was still pregnant when I read this. Another Lucinda Berry is Missing Parts. And then the book I read actually while I was in labor is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. It's the second book in the Knock 'Em Out series, so it's a sequel to Things We Left Behind. Next is The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, both by Frida McFadden. She was actually my most read author this year, so I thought that was interesting. The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret, both very quick reads, very fast-paced thrillers. I love thrillers, I love fast-paced. I really liked those. Then I took a break from those and read Happy Place by Emily Henry. Really good. I think this is actually my favorite of her books. Another Frida McFadden is Never Lie. This one was also very fast-paced, but also very, very, very unrealistic. So it was not my favorite of hers. Next is Gone Again by Minka Kent. Love Minka Kent. Always find those books to be very good. Another Frida McFadden is The Inmate. This one had some crazy plot twists, so I thought the end was the end until I saw how much time was left in the book, and then I was like, this isn't the end. There has to be another plot twist. It was really good. I liked that one. Another is The Dilemma by B.A. Paris. This one was absolutely heart-wrenching to me. It's called The Dilemma for a reason, and honestly, like the whole time my heart was just like breaking because yeah, that's it. Next is That Summer by Jennifer Weiner. My husband actually bought me this book for Mother's Day. Got me a couple things for Mother's Day and threw this in there, and I thought it was really cute. Next is Signal Moon by Kate Quinn. It is a short story. I did read a couple of short stories here and there and like novella type things because I really needed to read really quick books to add them to this list. So I have a lot of those on here because 2023 was not a good year for books for me. I thought it was a cool concept, but it was hard for me to understand because it was historical fiction. Next is Golden Hills by Jennifer Weiner. I thought this one was really cute. Again, that one was a short story novella type thing. Next is Bad Girl Reputation by Elle Kennedy. This one is second in the Avalon Bay series. The first one is Good Girl something. It was a little bit spicy, but it wasn't like too spicy like other Elle Kennedy books are. I won't read any of the other Elle Kennedy books because they're too spicy for me, but I liked this one. A Show of Faith by Greer Hendricks is a thriller. It was a short story novella type thing, and I actually really liked that one. Next is The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden. I felt like this one was way too familiar. It basically, it was so similar to Verity by Colleen Hoover, and I read Verity first, so it just felt too familiar. I couldn't get on board with it because it was so similar. Next is Hidden Pictures by Jason Reculach. Not sure. This one was like paranormal. Very strange. Was completely unexpected. Definitely not what I thought it was gonna be. Next is Don't Miss It, Parent Every Week Like It Counts by Kristen Ivy. This one's obviously nonfiction, like a self-help type book. I read this one while feeding my baby. It was a very, very quick read. In fact, it only has 41 ratings on Goodreads because it's, I mean, I feel like most people don't read books like this when they're, I feel like if they read a book like this, they're not on Goodreads, you know? Next is And There He Kept Her by Josh Moling. I can't remember what happened in this book. Again, if I read the synopsis, I'd probably figure it out, but it was just kind of a book for me. Beautiful Criminals by Eric Tipton. I thought this one was good, although it is in my list of books to unhaul because it wasn't that memorable to me. I got it on clearance at Barnes & Noble one time and I found it on my shelf and I was like, I should read this. Next is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. I actually really did like this book. I bought this one in the Chicago O'Hare Airport on my way to San Diego for my friend's wedding, so I remember reading this one in July. I actually stopped reading everything I was reading on my Kindle because I thought this one was so good, so I'm glad I read that one. The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Really liked this one. Again, I'm a big fan of Catherine Center. My husband bought me a book by her one year for Christmas and I'm really glad that he did because he introduced me to her as an author and I just really love her books. The next one is another nonfiction. It's Here's What I Need You to Know, Essays on Marriage, Motherhood, and the Mundane by Shari Franklin. And this one is actually, Shari is a friend of mine's mother-in-law and also my friend's mom. I'm friends with both of them and it just felt really special to read this. One, because I know who like a lot of the stories in this book are about, so it was like really interesting to like read these things from their mom's perspective, but also there were parts of it that made me cry, especially because I'm a mom now myself, and I made sure to tell her that I thought that there were so many parts where it's like, you're gonna miss this moment right now, or you're gonna miss those moments, or like, I wish I could go back to those moments, and there were parts of it that just like made my heart ache. If you are a new mom, or even not a new mom, if you're a mom at all, I definitely recommend this because it just like will get you. Also, her Facebook posts always made me cry, so I figured I'd like her book. Next is The Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett. I read this because it kind of caught my eye on the like shorter novels table at Barnes & Noble, but to be honest, I felt like it dragged, which is horrible, but I felt like it dragged. Then the next couple of books are a series of short stories that like kind of follow like the same theme. So there's Pigeon Tony's Last Stand by Lisa Scottoline. I've read another book by her before and I really liked it. I didn't love this one. Then there's Unknown Caller by Lisa Unger. I liked this one, and then I took a break from that series and read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I love Carly Fortune, 10 out of 10 always. Perfection, love her books. Trouble by Janelle Brown, Kill Night by Victor Methos, and These Cold Strangers by J.T. Ellison. Those were all part of the same, they're like Amazon originals or something like that. So they're only available, I think, on Kindle Unlimited. Then I read A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. That one was really, really good. And then I started another series of short stories because again, they were just really quick reads. So there's The Mosquito by B.A. Paris. I took a break and reread Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I read this book when it came out the first time in like 2017. I actually have an autographed copy of it on my shelf over there because he went on a book tour when that book came out and I loved that book. So I just wanted to reread it. I wanted to listen to it, remind myself about it. So probably gonna reread The Fault in Our Stars this year then. And then to continue on the little short story series, there's Murder at the Royal Ruby by Nita Prose, The Heart of a Mother by Julie Clark, Slot Machine Fever Dreams by Chris Bohajalan, People Like Them by Minka Kent, and Just a Girl by Alyssa Cole. And then I finally got to Girl Forgotten by Karen Slaughter. It's number 2 of the Andrea Oliver series. If you guys have seen, oh crap, what is that book called? Missing Pieces, Missing Pieces, maybe? I can't remember the name of it. It's a Netflix series based on a Karen Slaughter book. It's the sequel to that. Next is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutanto. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but this book was so funny. First of all, you can tell just by the cover that it's gonna be a funny book, but I think it's hilarious. Next, absolutely mind-boggling book, and I still think about this one now. It is The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. I feel like I put this one off for a long time because I didn't think it sounded that interesting, but after I read it, I'm really glad that I did because shocking, okay? And then it has like a sequel novella type thing, and it's called A Welcome Reunion, obviously also by Lucinda Berry. I thought those were both so good. One by One by Frida McFadden. To be honest, I did not like this one at all. It was part of a book club that I was gonna go to, and then I just like didn't end up going, but it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I wasn't mad that I didn't like it. It felt so unrealistic, and honestly, it felt really predictable until the very end. Like, it felt predictable until I got to the plot twist at the end, so I will give it that. Then I also read All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. I read that other book by her. What was it? I can't remember what it was called. Oh, I read A Flicker in the Dark by her, so I was excited to read All the Dangerous Things and I really enjoyed it. Next was Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry, and this one was very, very thought-provoking. I definitely would recommend a trigger warning if you want to read this one. It was a quick read, but I was absolutely engrossed. It was heartbreaking, but also very disturbing. So if you have any like triggers, I would maybe stay away from that one. Next is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I really liked this one. I thought it was cute. I didn't realize it was like a young adult instead of like contemporary adult, but I really liked it. I thought it was cute. Two more by Frida McFadden. There is The Locked Door and The Coworker. Quick, fast-paced thrillers. I pretty much say the same thing about all of her books. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is When in Rome #2. It's about Annie and Will. So cute. I loved it. It was so cute. I would recommend if you like a good little, I don't know, if you love a cute little romance. I think this is her first open door romance. There's like an open door scene at the end of it. I think it's mostly closed door, but it's open door at the very end. Like there's an epilogue that has an open door scene in it. Some more short stories. I have The Wedding Setup by Sonali Dev and The Scenic Route by Christina Baker Klein. Those are both really good. What She Knew by Jilly McMillan. This one was okay. I listened to this one and it was a little bit difficult for me to understand because I like to read books fast, okay? I like to listen to books fast, but when they have an accent that's not my own, I find it difficult to listen to very quickly. So I definitely had to pay more attention to this one, but it's okay. Next is The Runaway Groomsman by Megan Quinn. Her books are so funny to me. Her books tend to be like way spicier than what I prefer. However, her books are so funny that I read them anyway. Yeah. Then there is The Gift by Frida McFadden. I'm pretty sure this one was a short story as well. Yeah, it's only 53 pages. It's like a little novella type thing. That was on Kindle Unlimited. Next is The House by the Dunes by Mary Burton. I really liked that one. I feel like I got back into reading on Kindle Unlimited with Mary Burton thrillers, and that's kind of what got me into reading thrillers, so it was nice to kind of go back to her. Next, this one's gonna be really controversial. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I feel like my opinion is very controversial about this one because I listened to it because it was just like a really long book, and then I saw that the second book was like 22 hours on audiobook, which is like 11 hours when you do it on 2x speed. I cannot imagine, okay? It just wasn't for me. I read it because someone told me that they thought I'd like it, and like it wasn't bad, I didn't hate it, but like I wasn't interested enough to keep reading. And I've heard that the second book is a lot better than the first one, even though the first one was okay. But like, I don't know, I just wasn't interested enough to keep going. But I went into that book knowing that I'm not really a fantasy reader, so I gave it a shot. It wasn't for me. We'll try again next year. Another one is It's a Date Again by Geneva Rose. This one was kind of like a contemporary romance, and it was unexpected because I know Geneva Rose as a thriller author, so it was unexpected, but I liked it. I listened to it. It was good. Next was part of like a series from different authors by on Kindle Unlimited. This one is Just Don't Fall. It's part of the Sweater Weather series, and it's by Emma St. Clair. This was my favorite of all the books in that series. And then another little novella is Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey. I liked this one. It was way spicier than what I'm used to, so if it was a lot longer, then I probably wouldn't have liked it as much, simply because it probably would have had so much spice that I would have had to stop reading, but it was nice. And then I Think He Knows by Katie Bailey. I really liked this one. This is a sweet close door romance, so I enjoyed that one. Then we have The Nanny by Jilly McMillan and You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This is the same author that wrote that contemporary romance, so this is why I was confused. You Shouldn't Have Come Here, I think, is her best thriller yet. Okay, she wrote The Perfect Marriage or something like that. I can't remember, but this one, literally so good. Okay, the whole time you think you know what's gonna happen, like literally the whole time, and then out of left field, like the very end, you're like, what? It's a complete shocker. Okay, you should read it if you like thriller books. Then I read Queen Charlotte by Julia Quinn and Shonda Rhimes. It is literally the show Queen Charlotte in a book. Like hardly anything was different. If you have seen, or yeah, if you've seen the Queen Charlotte series on Netflix, then the only thing it's missing is the Lady Danbury storyline, like the separate storyline. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But it was basically the show over again. I feel like I would have preferred to have read it and then watched it because it was so similar. I've read all of the Bridgerton books, and I read the first book after I watched the first season, but then I read the second book before I watched the second season. If that makes sense. Like I started reading the books as soon as the first season came out, and I really enjoyed all the books, but there are some creative differences just because it's a TV show and they add in like extra storylines and stuff. But honestly, it was a carbon copy of the series, so that made it really difficult for me to properly enjoy it. it because I felt like I was just reading the same thing over again. Next is called Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. This one actually came out not too long ago, and I thought this one was gonna be like a short story or a novella, but it was not. It was a full-length novel. Just a few more to go. We have Friendship by Savannah Scott. Really cute closed-door romance. I love like a sweet little closed-door romance. The Favorite Child by Katherine Grant. I thought this one was interesting, although I don't think it was my favorite. Next is The Fallback Plan by Melanie Jacobson, and this one is number 2 in the Sweater Weather series. There were 7 books in that series. I ended up only completing 3 of them because I just got bored. Next is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I don't remember what happened in that one, and I didn't even read it that long ago. Next is The Taken Ones by Jess Lowry or Lori, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I really liked this one. It was very good. It was a thriller. Then I read Lady in the Lake by Laura Lippman. I listened to this one, but I also have it on my bookshelf, so I like read while I listened. And I really liked it. It was not what I was expecting, even though I literally read the synopsis. I wasn't expecting it to be like historical fiction, but it was. And then the 3rd book in the Sweater Weather series that I read was Can't Help Falling by Courtney Walsh. I've read a couple of books by Courtney Walsh and I really like them. And then Faking Christmas by Cindy Steele. That one was really, really cute. Sweet little Christmas closed-door romance type thing. The Holiday Mix-Up by Jenny Baird was not my like absolute favorite of the Christmas books I read, but it was cute. I listened to this one. Then there was Resting Scrooge Face by Megan Quinn. This one was a little novella and I thought it was really cute. Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh, and it's literally just called Holiday Romance. I really, really liked this one so much that I was excited to read the 2nd book in the series. But before I got to that, I read The Nice List by Dee Lagasse. It's from the Mary and Bright series. This one was a novella. It was only 112 pages on my Kindle. I thought it was gonna be like this sweet little romance. It was definitely very spicy. Okay. There's more books in this series. I did not want to read them because this one was so spicy. I mean, I thought it was a cute book, right? But it was still way more spicy than I'm used to. Way more spicy than I prefer. Almost done. Then there is So This Is Christmas by Jenny Holiday. And honestly, I love that her name is Jenny Holiday because she writes romance novels that are holiday themed. This is the 3rd book in a series from Aldovia. And then The Honeymoon Crashers by Christina Lauren was an audio only, and I do feel like I need to give you like a proper review of this one because it was audio only. There were like parts of like normal prose that are missing. So normally when you have dialogue in a book, it says she says, or if they laugh they say so and so laughed, or whatever. It sounds better than what I just said. But this one, you actually hear the laugh and it sounds more like dialogue, like people are actually talking to each other rather than it being like he said, she said, this person said, she laughed, blah 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 blah. Like it just sounded like I was listening to a movie, which I really enjoyed. Also, it's like a half sequel novella type thing to The Unhoneymooners, so that was cute. Next is Snowed In by Catherine Walsh, and this is the sequel to Holiday Romance. I really loved this one. So it was a fake dating. And then the last 2 books on here I have not completed yet, but I will have completed them before the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve. So it's You Always Come Back by Emily Smith, and I'm listening to this one, and it's about... That's all I got for you now. I can't tell you how I like it because I haven't finished it yet. And then The Night I Died by Anne Fraser, which also haven't finished yet. Those are all 100 books that I read or will have read by the time you watch this video. So if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe down below. I plan on doing monthly recaps like I did in 2022. So that will be better than this for the whole year. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!